Let me set this other course up real quick. All right. See if it's going to allow you to see that other course as well. You should have two courses popping up. So just click on the left side. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, let's see. So click on the two courses there. So you do have two courses that we're trying to catch up on. Um, the pharmacotherapy and disease process, that's more geared to medicine and different types of different medications that we'll learn. So we'll start off with learning what to look for to understand what medication goes to what body system. So we will go over that. And then you have the other course that is um, it says pharmacology, and that's more geared to the health systems of what the technician, the job of the technician, the beginning stages. We're going to go over the history. We're going to go over the laws. The laws are extensive. I can tell you the first chapter one's going to be pretty easy to get through. Chapter two is going to be pretty hard as far as learning the laws. So I do uh, um, oh, I yeah, we barely got it all set up, so getting all there. But as for chapter two, it's laws, and I mean I do highly recommend that you spend a good amount of your time on chapter two. That it is it's chapter three and four is more geared towards ethics and how to talk to people, as far as customers and stuff like that. So though chapter 3 and 4 is going to be pretty easy. Chapter 5 will be over dosage administration, like we will go over what's a teaspoon, conversions and stuff like that. It's a lot of abbreviations, medical terminology, refresh, but there's a whole lot more that will help you read prescriptions. All right. So we will start off with chapter 1 first. Uh, Let me go ahead and I wanted to get into this because you won't be here on Mondays and Thursdays, right? So you would have to log in to get on your online access. I will set up. Are y'all able to get into like Teams, Windows Teams? Like it's a meeting site to shows video and stuff like that. No, no, it's just an app that you would download. Or I can also set a meeting on the canvas. It's just a little bit harder. But either way, it'll be recorded. Like today, I'm recording for Skylar, and I haven't seen her log in or anything. I can see that you got logged in and whatnot, and what time of day y'all logged in, making sure that they're getting through y'all's um, homework and stuff like that. So we'll navigate around here real quick, just so that y'all can be familiar with it. So you'll hit dashboard. You're in the dashboard part right now. And we're going to go to pharmacology. And we're going to start off with chapter 1 here first. And it gives you a brief description of what I want as far as your homework. So for the most part, for the homework, do all the matching true false and the multiple choice. Work should be done by the end of the week. I'll go over the short answer questions, critical thinking questions with you all as a group. Pages may be misnumbered on the attachments, but make sure to do pages 1 through 4 for chapter 1. You can download the file and answer the questions and send back as an attachment. So say you're not going to be here to turn it in, you can send it to me online and I can grade it. You may also be take a picture of your work, print out the assignment, or you may hand them in person just as long as it is all done. Turn it. You will need to read the book and go over the PowerPoint as well. So I have your books here. And there is a PowerPoint on here for chapter 1. We'll go over that here in just a moment. As well to answer the questions. If you have any questions, please email. Note, download both files. The numbering on the pages are not chronologically in order. So like this one, once I download it, I do got page 1, but it'll jump to page 3 here. They wouldn't let me do it back to front and back, so that's the way I had to do it. So you're required to do up to page 4. So you'll do 1 and 3 here, and you'll have a workbook as well. I'll give you a workbook. But if you weren't here and you were out of town, you forgot your workbook, you can access these and answer them, download them and answer them. Close this, and the other one here. Shows page 2 and 4. Yeah. So you'll go through page 4 up to right here to the matching, and we'll go over short answer together as well. So once you're all done with that, there's also some labs. So you'll click on lab one. You'll download this. Oh well. So say, okay, the lab is going to be in your same assignments here, your homework download. But this is going to this chapter one, lab 1.1 gives you instructions as to where to go and what to look for, the where to look for as far as questions. So this says that this is on page 5 in the homework assignment. So you're going to have to go back to page 5 in your homework assignment. So we're here at page 5, doing lab 1.1. So you'll read through here, answer the following questions as they relate to the history of pharmacy. And then it gives you like a website. I've already attached the website on here for you. Once you go back to assignments and then go to lab 1.1, I've already attached the 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 website as to where you're supposed to look for the answers to the questions. So in order to keep you from going back and forth, you can either, look on your, I'll give you a workbook for that as well, so you can answer on your workbook. You're going to have to, you're going to keep that for next semester as well. So, but say you weren't here in class for a day or something, and you have to catch up on something. Your homework is in here, just download it. Right here is a section or a tab to download. I'll download it for you. I'll move that off to the side here. And close this. So once you download it, you can like go put it in like on a mini tab or whatever, and then just go into your lab section here and answer the questions that it's asking for on that. Do I have any questions on that? Okay. All right. Yes. And pretty much the same thing for the pharmacotherapy and diseases. We'll start off with chapter 16. Let me fix the date on this real quick. If for some reason you don't see an assignment, it's probably because I don't have the date set up correctly. All right. So you should at least see chapter 16 assignments once you click onto the other course. So go into dashboard on the side and then click on the pharmacotherapy and disease process tab. Are y'all both in it already? Like that type thing. See, so you can see the assignments already. Does it say just chapter 16? Click on the classification. All right. So it says to look over the PowerPoint prior to starting the homework. You also need to read with the book to answer questions. Do pages 236 to 239, matching true, false, multiple choice, and fill in the blank. We'll go over short answer and research activity as well. What's that? How do you hear? Where can we find the PowerPoint? The PowerPoint? Let me show you. Let's see. I thought I had put the PowerPoint in here. I guess I didn't. I will put that in here momentarily. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and give you your book and workbook real quick. Don't let the book scare you. I know it's thick, but got a lot of good information on there that'll help you out. I'll put in the PowerPoint here later. I'm not sure what happened to it. I was sworn I put it in. But it's not showing. Are we allowed to write in the book? You're allowed to write in the workbook. The workbook, not in the book. Say if you didn't want to carry around the book, you can get into Elsevier. You can get into. Oh, there's a website. When you open it, there's a website right here. And you would have to scratch this off to access. You'll put in your information if you want to access it. Let's see. So I will go over the PowerPoint real quick with y'all. Did y'all come in y'all's own vehicles or is somebody picking y'all up? They're picking you up? What time did you tell them to pick you up? Huh? What time? 3:30. Are you going for lunch? Okay. Uh, Cause we'll probably take lunch between 11:45, 11:45 till 1, or y'all can get here. I'll probably, say you're caught up or whatever with the work for the day, for the morning. Um, I'll let you leave early, whatever. Uh, but you have to be caught up. It's going to be kind of hard to be all caught up unless you're doing work at the house, which I highly recommend to stay ahead of each of the classes. You got two courses that y'all are studying. Um, Again, it's the medication course and the professions course, which is the background to pharmacy and everything else. Um, but I will try to make it as easy as possible. We're crunching 3 months of work into 1 month of work. So, and the hardest thing is to memorize is the medications part. Um, but if you do it at least 30 minutes per day, I'll give you like Quizlets to go over. I'll give you a Jeopardy questions to go over. Um, Stuff that you can access online or on your phone. Just to go over about 30 minutes a day, you should be good. Okay. All right. So starting on chapter 1, and I will put this in your canvas so you can look over it, go back to it. History of medicine. We'll discuss the following related to the history of medicine, discuss the ancient beliefs of illness and medicine from 440 BC through CE 1600. List common ancient treatments that prevailed in Western civilization. Describe 18th and 19th medicine and identify influences that major wars had on medicine. We'll describe the wide use of opium and the problems surrounding opium use and differentiate between opiates and opioids. That's one of the big things in these days that people are overdosing on opiates, opiate. What were they? The synthetic opiate drug, which is like your Oxycontin and stuff like that. Even fentanyl has strong potential for overdose as well. We'll go over and discuss advances in drug therapy and vaccinations. Discuss the following related to the history of pharmacy. Identify the role that the early pharmacists played in society. Describe how the first pharmacies began in the United States. describe the first technicians in pharmacy. This major ways, this major ways pharmacy has changed over the past 100 years, and this important current trends in pharmacy in relation to pharmacy technicians. Um, what do y'all think some benefits uh, have occurred or have pharmacists created? Y'all think? What are some of the benefits that pharmacists have created for us? What was that? Drugs. Drugs. Yeah, we do a lot. We do some pharmacists in the back in the days did some research in with plants and stuff like that. If it wasn't for pharmacists, we wouldn't have some Cokes. We wouldn't have Coca-Cola for sure. There was a pharmacist that developed Coca-Cola, and they had uh, in the beginning ingredients, beginning stages of developing that, they had cocaine. They put cocaine in. Another pharmacist developed, I believe, Dr. Pepper, and those are some of the benefits. Well, I wouldn't say benefits because they give us diabetes because of all the sugar it has. But you know, there's some certain aspects to the world that pharmacists have contributed, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just drugs. Um, Also, back in the days, little alchemists. They were like little wizards back in the days. I don't know if y'all seen 300. It's a war, kind of a war Roman movie back in the Empire State days. Anyways, they had little. They would throw little bombs. They would create little bombs and stuff like that. So they were always pretty fascinated with chemicals and what these certain chemicals do when you combine them together. So that's pretty much what pharmacy is we're combining some chemicals. We may be getting the chemical from a plant. They may be creating synthetically generated medications as well that would mimic what the plant does or whatnot. So ancient beliefs and treatments. um, Medicine has been practiced for thousands of years. Remedies such as herbals have been used throughout history. Do y'all have any herbal remedies that y'all use? Like, say you can't get to the doctor because of you're sick and doctor's closed. You gotta wait for the next day. Is there any remedies that your parents give y'all for just to keep you from coughing or hurting or anything like that? They don't like mix like ginger or lemon, ginger and lemon for cough and stuff like that. So that's another form of pharmaceuticals there. Um, for the most part, y'all are good with accessing and logging into Canvas. Mhm. You either could take a picture of it and send it to me in email, or you could try again when you come in class. Or I mean, if you're able to, if you're creative and you're able to write on like one of the art, uh, where you can write, maybe letters or whatever, where you can write on it, and then send it to me. That'd be fine. So everybody's good with this stuff? Okay. I'll let y'all sit back to where you are at, and y'all can go ahead and log out. I just want to make sure that, when Thursday comes and y'all not here, that y'all are able to access this. Go ahead and open your book to chapter 1. A lot of times you can find your answers on these terms and definitions, usually when we are doing the matching and whatnot, just to, trying to help you out as far as not getting behind or anything. So medicine has been practiced for thousands of years. Remedies such as herbals have been used throughout history. Severe illnesses believed to be caused by evil spirits. So back in the days, they thought that, if you were sick or something was wrong with you, you were controlled by evil spirits. A lot of times they would make a hole in the top of your head and try to bleed out that spirit. Thank God we don't do that these days. And some of this stuff did y'all take pathophysiology or human diseases? Oh, y'all did, right? Y'all did basic life skills, right? Where y'all learn CPR and all that stuff. So it was that other course that y'all were learning, human diseases, right? Body system. Probably. Yeah. Okay. I say that because I reference a lot back to what the disease is caused by, or what body system the disease is, and then we focus on the medication as to what that medication is for that disease. All right. Let's see. Many popular beliefs and practices have disappeared. So, like I said, the bleeding from the head, or it says that what is it? Traphining? Cut made into the skull to give diseases a portal through which to leave. So, of course, we don't do that much anymore, unless you're probably hemorrhaging in the brain or something like that. Tribal shamans or medicine men believed to be able to communicate with the spirits. So again, that's ancient times. Crazy, crazy to think how people thought way back in the day. All right. Evolution of medicine. Plagues killed thousands of people. Of course, the Black Plague. We dealt with the COVID that's killed many people as well. Microbes were unknown. They didn't have no microscopes or anything to see what was going on in their body. So the microbes were unknown. Prayer was the most common form of treatment and remains so in many cultures, which is, if the person's pretty much on the deathbed, we go to prayer, still. For the most part, a lot of people still go to prayer if there's no medicinal healing, or if the medicine's not doing what it's supposed to. The four body system humors were linked to the four basic elements. So they would link blood to air, limb to water, yellow bile to fire, and black bile to earth. And again, this is all religious types of studies, and which evolved medicine. Treatments to rebalance the humors were bloodletting, which they would either cut you on your wrist and let you bleed out, and then they would also give you some laxatives, and we know what laxatives do. So those are the types of healing ailments back in, uh, I would say, biblical days. So we're now into the Roman days, or the Greek days. Hippocrates. Hippocrates is responsible for the advancement in medicine. Observations include effects of food and climate. The first physician, Hippocrates is known as the first physician to record patients' medical illnesses. He promoted kindness to the sick, rest, and eating light foods. He wrote the Corpus Hippocratum, which is the collection of books that document Hippocrates' teaching. We also, or the doctors read the Hippocratic Oath, which doctors act only for the good of their patients and keep confidential what they learn about their patients. So this is kind of correlating to what we know as HIPAA, where we cannot speak about the patient's ailments or any kind of diseases in front of people that are not part of the hospital setting. So when we get to chapter 2, just remember, dealing with HIPAA, it's dealing with a confidentiality of the patient's um, sickness or diagnosis or whatever. So when we're working in pharmacy and inputting a script and it's a friend that we know, we can't be letting other people know what that person is getting or why he's getting treated. We can get highly fined for that. So just keep in mind HIPAA, Hippocrates, dealing with confidentiality. And Hippocrates is also known as the father of medicine. Pretty sure those are some questions that you'll see on your workbook. So now we are in advances to medicine. Looking at, let's see, I want to say we're at the 18th and 19th century here. Well, no, we're past that because it's in bloodletting. Yeah, we're about that area. So we have Claudius Galen. He followed many of Hippocrates' beliefs, such as eating and a balanced diet, exercise, and good hygiene. He wrote on topics such as physiology, anatomy, pathology, and diagnosis in the pharmacology. He was pretty much what we went over human diseases last semester while you are juniors. You are seniors now, right? So now he kind of put together that system of we need to know what's causing this, what part of the anatomy we looking at, what's the cause of the disease, what's the diagnosis of the disease, and how can we treat the disease. So that would be Claudius Galen. Roger Bacon redefined and explained the importance of the experimental methods. So he was mainly over, making sure that some medications were for certain ailments. Paracelsus, he believed in treating illnesses with one medication at a time. Produced many non-toxic medications. So I'm pretty sure he got maybe the lemons off a tree, some ginger, put it in there. Did a lot of herbal medications that were non-toxic. Introduced laudanum. We'll talk about laudanum here in just a moment, which is a popular tonic for deadening pain. Laudanum is a derivative of opium that a lot of in the Western days, I don't know if y'all watched Tombstone, where Wyatt Earp, his live-in or his wife was always drinking some laudanum, and it was opium that she was drinking. So she would either get drunk or pass out from that, and she was pretty much addicted. Ancient herbal remedies. So prevalent treatments, we had multiple mixtures of plants, roots, and other concoctions. You have garlic for inflammation, bronchial tubes. There was liverwort, plant for liver problems. Then you have wine and pepper for stomach ailments. They used onions for worms and tiger fat for joint pain. So this is again going back to basic, looking at the plants, also looking at for animals, for different types of healing methods and medicinal methods. Treatments were by trial and error. Some were effective and some caused death. So it's not like today where um, each of the medications goes through a long overview of to get on the market, I guess you could say. A long overview of experimenting, taking down data, taking down what certain side effects are, whatnot. So a lot has changed from then to now. New approaches to science emerged, and new methods were devised to test hypothesis. These produced advances in medicine. So again, we tested a lot of these different types of hypotheses, thoughts of different scientists, pharmacists, doctors, and they got together and they um, kind of put together to see what worked and what didn't work. So the 18th and 19th century medicine, we have bloodletting, used to lessen excess body fluids, thought to cause illness. So say you broke an arm and it started swelling, and they would cut it and let the blood flow out. Um, but a lot of times they would bleed out. Sometimes they would get it before they die or whatnot. But it was mainly um, what we use for arthritis today or inflammation, such as Tylenol, such as ibuprofen, and a leaf. They would cut people's arms or legs or wherever they were swollen at to release the I guess the tightness as well, and also to bring the whatever body part back to normal. Medical schools were formed in Europe first, especially in France and Germany. Um, a lot has to do with the wars that we were going through at the time. World War I, World War II, really pushed for a lot of new advances to medication. Religious leaders became very active in researching medicinal remedies to treat the sick. Of course, we had the religious leaders who were always helping those less fortunate, and they were creating certain or herbal formulas for to help the sick. Gregor Mendel was a famous scientist and a monk. He laid the foundation for genetics and how genes are woven into heredity. So this goes back to human diseases. If you're, say, your grandma, your grandparent, or your mom and dad have diabetes, um, for the most part, your genes will have you most likely obtaining diabetes, or more likely to obtain diabetes as to another person whose genetic background does not have diabetes. So, you get your parents or your grandparents have diabetes, then more likely you're probably going to get hit with diabetes too. So if you have that in your genetic background, just kind of keep an eye on how you eat, what you eat. Florence Nightingale best known as a nurse who spent her career caring for the wounded. I don't know if y'all talked about her when y'all were in the nursing part. She was pretty important for them. The North American medicine. Early America, the new immigrants brought diseases from other parts of the world. Doctors were responsible for diagnosing conditions and preparing remedies to cure patients. The first druggists were doctors. Early American remedies were cinchona bark, which cured malaria. The cinchona bark, they pulled the quinine from that bark, and we'll see different medications that are specifically named quinine. And then there's also mercury, which was for syphilis, but we found out that it was very toxic and could cause death. So um, there's not much mercury that we deal with on a daily basis. They used to be in thermometers, but I believe they've taken them out just because mercury is very toxic. Average life expectancy back in the days, I'm going to say back in the 1900s, is 40 years old. We've already doubled that now, just about. We're living to about 80 years old these days. Childhood diseases, there was no vaccines available. So a lot of times you'll hear a lot, well, back in the past, you heard a lot of the children dying because of the vaccines that weren't available, such as for like hepatitis, um, what else? Today, COVID. Also, what else? When they had the Black Plague, smallpox, there's just different types of ailments that would kill children. Most treatments were concoctions handed down through family tradition. My family tradition concoction, we would mix honey, lemon, um, sage for cough and whatnot, and it's good. I mean, it does help out. And as you get older, you'll be putting together different types of concoctions to lose weight or whatnot. I hear ginger helps with losing weight. Apple cider vinegar helps with diabetes. So there's a lot of um, home remedies that do help with certain ailments other than just medication. Opium and alcohol. So, like I said, back in the whiter days, Western days, laudanum was big. This is the time where railroads were being built. The Chinese were bringing the opium from overseas, from Asia, and making concoctions with it. So that's how a lot of the Americans got the laudanum and abused it. They only till like in the 1950s is when they started regulating um, different types of controlled medications. The origin of opium, opium byproduct is a byproduct of Papaver's somniferum or the opium poppy. Opioid is made in a laboratory rather than taken from the plant. So opium is the flower. Opioid is uh, the synthetic chemical that is man-made. It's not pulled from the flower, but it's man-made synthetic chemical. Opium and opioids act on same receptor sites in the nervous system, and they have the same side effects. So they pulled the plant. They saw the gene formulation of the plant or the chemical formulation of the plant or of the opium, and then they made opioids from that chemical Um, what am I trying to say? From that chemical formulation, they made opioid. I guess that's the way I can put it to you. So again, just remember, opioid is the synthetic version of opioid. 20th century medicine. Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin by accident in 1928. And let's look in that one real quick. All right, so I'm on page 10 of the book. In the 1900s, many new medicines were discovered. Some of the earlier and groundbreaking discoveries were for medicines that were useful in treating infections. The Scottish physician and bacteriologist Alexander Fleming has accidentally contaminated a plate of bacteria with mold while working in his laboratory in 1928. The mold inhibited the growth of the bacteria, and he named the mold penicillin. Many years of failed and successful experimentation by many of scientists followed before penicillin was recognized as a useful medicine. It was not until after 1938 that penicillin would undergo mass production and be used worldwide as a helpful antibiotic. Penicillin was the first antibiotic discovered and is still in use today. The first synthetic drug, a sulfonamide, was discovered by Gerhard Domack in 1938 and was derived from a chemical dye found to inhibit bacterial growth. This sulfonamide was used extensively during World War II to treat infections that were a result of battle wounds. Today, sulfonamides are primarily used to treat urinary tract infections. Many antibiotics were discovered in the years after penicillin and sulfon. In the 20th century, Rosalind Franklin, British scientist, discovered the density and helical shape of DNA. Her work would lay the foundation for another particularly important discovery made by James Watson and Francis Crick. In April of 1953, they published a scientific paper presenting the structure of the DNA double helix, the molecule that carries genetic information from one generation to another. In 1962, Watson and Crick received the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine, along with Maurice Wilkins for their important contribution to science. So let's see, we talked about Gerhard Domkack, discovered the first synthetic drug, sulfonamide, in 1932, used during World War II to treat the wound infections. James Watson and Francis Crick published scientific paper presenting DNA structure. And Louis Pasteur discovered an anthrax vaccine for animals in 1881. Let me finish reading on that. So advances in drug therapy and vaccinations. Many of the most famous chemists, biologists, and doctors who contributed to science were from European countries such as Germany, England, France, and Poland. Louis Pasteur was from France, who is best known for the pasteurization process. Was also responsible for discovering vaccines such as the anthrax vaccine. Table 1.4 provides a list of pathogens and diseases that were discovered along with the vaccines administered to prevent the disease. HPV, we barely even discovered a vaccine for HPV, which has also been known to cause cancer as well in the throat area. Also, you have a vaccine for shingles that was just recently discovered as well in 2006, which HPV and shingles, they kind of work. They are almost the same virus. Shingles gives you blisters in the back, while HPV they can give you blisters in your genital areas as well as in your oral or throat area. 2009 developed a vaccine for the swine flu. 2010 to 11, there's well, influenza vaccine is going to vary from time to time, but there's different types of influenza that comes out. So they'll be developing a new vaccine for flu on a annual basis, which probably what we're going to be doing with COVID as well. They might even combine the influenza and COVID once they figure out, that they can do it. 2010, there's a new vaccine for pneumonia, which is the Streptococcus pneumoniae. 2013, they developed a vaccine for hand, foot, mouth disease. 2014, they've improved the vaccine for HPV, human papillomavirus, and also the meningococcal influenza, which attacks the brain area. 2015, they developed a vaccine for meningitis, and 2016, cholera, and for Ebola in 2019. I don't know if y'all remember the Ebola scare that we had a couple of years ago. I was working in a hospital during that time. It's pretty scary. Our old remedies making a comeback. Modern treatment for hemochromatosis can involve leeches and maggots to remove blood. I've actually seen where a doctor uses maggots to remove bacteria. The patient had very bad diabetic nephropathy, which is the eating of the skin, and it was gangrene and very infected. So he ended up putting maggots on the infection, and the maggots ate away all the bacteria. And once the maggots ate all the bacteria, he scooped up all the maggots out of the infection area, and it started healing. So they still use that today. So it's pretty interesting. Approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration in 1976, and it's also very inexpensive. Honey is used today for medicinal properties. Like I said, honey is used for soothing of the sore throat. You use that, put it in teas as well, other teas to make it sweeten. Say you have a son or daughter, or maybe a little brother or whatever that doesn't like the taste of certain medicines. You can coat that, put honey on it, make it sweeter, and it'll be okay for them to take. A lot of the pharmacies do that. They'll put a bubblegum flavor, certain type of flavor that the kid likes, or the adult who can't swallow easily likes. Early pharmacists, apothecaries, pharmacies sprang up after the Civil War. So after the Civil War, pharmacies started to pop up. People were trained to give medications accurately. Pharmacists moved into the role of druggists. The first pharmacy school was in Philadelphia College of Pharmacy and Sciences in 1821. In the 1800s, pharmacists compounded nearly every drug ordered by physicians. And this is before, laws were regulated, before FDA. So anything that they requested, the pharmacist would be able to make, even if it killed them. or even if they got addicted to it. And once they saw that people were getting addicted to certain medications, that's when the law started popping up. Or once they saw that certain medications weren't doing what they said they were going to do, and that's when laws started to pop up. We'll see that in the next chapter. Um, in the 1800s, pharmacists compounded nearly every drug ordered by a physician. A medical recipe book contained instructions for preparing remedies. So an example would be chalk for heartburn. So they would eat chalk so that the heartburn would calm down. We still kind of do that with Tums. It's kind of chalky and alleviates the heartburn. And also for rose petals for headaches. I see a lot of people still do this. They grow their roses, and once the roses are about to die, they pick them. They'll boil them in the water, and they'll make a certain tea out of it, which could alleviate the headache. I've never tried it. I might try it just to see if it works. But I got to be a gardener first before all that. Early pharmacy in America. Early pharmacists played a minimal role in healthcare. From 1800 to 1900, the soda fountain became an extension of a town's drugstore. Mineral water became a treatment for different ailments. Pharmacists sold soda and ice cream, worked the lunch counter, and filled the day's prescriptions. Old time pharmacists, pharmacy places. One that just closed is Grams. It's one of the old time pharmacies. Um, Too bad we don't have any of those anymore. They're becoming extinct because of the CVSs and the Walgreens that are just taking up all the money, don't want to spread the wealth. Let's see. They use mineral water for drug ailments. Pharmacists, again, pharmacy setting promoted trust in the pharmacist. So after they set the laws and whatnot, or I wouldn't say after they set the laws and whatnot, because even before then, people would come to pharmacists to see what if they can help them with their ailment. So yes, there is a great trust that we have to build. We don't want to be misfilling medication and whatnot for that certain person. Again, early pharmacy technicians. First, pharmacy technicians were those enlisted in the military, trained to fill prescriptions and do the job of the pharmacist. To this day, military technicians have broader scope of training. Family members helped behind the counters, filled stock, and waited on customers. Early pharmacy clerks became pharmacy technicians, and the 1960s brought a need for standardized training. Professional pharmacy organizations became more involved in pharmacy technician training. So this is starting to happen after the 1960s. As of December 31st, 2019, PTCB, which is the certification board, pharmacy technician certification board, has granted 706,678 pharmacy technician certifications since 1995 through the examination and transfer process. So that's what we're aiming for, to take that exam. It's either the PTCB or you also have the EXCPT. From what I know, the EXCPT is not national certification. It's only certification to some states. Texas is one of those states that honors that. But PTCB is national certification. We have been. This is the first year, or last year was the first year. This last spring semester was the first semester that we did take EXCPT. I don't really think that there's a much of a difference, honestly, um, as far as what's on the test or the exam. They say this one's easier, but I really don't think it was. I think it's to be the same. I mean, I didn't take the test. I had, let's see, I had 8 take it and 5 pass. One missed it by 1 point, and the others missed it by a couple of points. But 3 didn't pass. One's going to retake it. You can retake it every 30 days, I believe. And with PTTB, I believe you can retake those every 60 days. So it's about the same price, 125 for this. Say 135 for the PTCB one. But either is good to have. Jobs for clinical technicians include assisting with anticoagulation monitoring. Anticoagulation means blood thinning. So when we get into cardiovascular medications, you'll see a lot of that um, dealing with blood thinning. Aspirin is a blood thinner, helps prevent blood clots, helps prevent um, heart attacks, and helps prevent strokes um, because the medication thins the blood. Managing the automation and pharmacy coordination systems. So that's mainly dealing with inputting into the computer and also pulling medications from carousels, which you'll see if you go into the hospital pharmacy. They have a carousel. Some retail pharmacies have Baker cell dispensing systems, which is like maybe like a gumball machine, I guess you could say, where you just twist it and gives you a certain amount of medication. But you got the computer telling that Baker cell how much to count or uh, how much you dispense. Sometimes we have to count on our own, but if it's a real busy pharmacy, 24/7, you'll see Baker cells that'll help you count. Managing medications and reconciliation programs. So as the list of medications grew, we had to really find a way to manage certain medications. So they started to implement, of course, technology helps with this. Computers inputting um, or a lot of information, the patient's information into databases, what they're taking and whatnot. So the computer will talk to each other in the database, and they'll see if two medications contrary um, if they work against each other. They'll also show if two medications work the same, or that the patient doesn't need two of the same medications. So that'll let you know um, that type of stuff for the patient. Let's see. Technicians are now in high demand. Um, we've been in high demand for the past 10 years. It's only going to get even more chaotic, I guess you could say, because we're producing um, technicians, but we still need more technicians. It's crazy how COVID has really changed things and um, really pushed us to the forefront. Changing pharmacy requirements. Doctor of pharmacy degree in this day and time, the pharmacist is needing to get a Pharm D, which is required for the U.S. pharmacist. Today's druggist needs in-depth and broad communication skills for dealing with doctors and customers. We're constantly talking to patients every day, whether you're a pharmacist, whether you're a technician, in the retail setting. Not so much the hospital setting, unless you're a clinical pharmacist and you're going into the rooms and you're explaining, okay, to the patient, this is why we're giving you this medication. Other than that, the pharmacist is stuck in the basement, entering orders, and the technicians are creating the different medications from those orders. For pharmacy technicians, both additional and education and on-the-job training are required in some states. Technician duties, prepare prescriptions and compound specialty medications, which we'll talk about those later on. Changing pharmacy requirements again. Hospital is known as the inpatient pharmacy. Such duties are supply floor stock. So say medication is running out on the floor, we go up there and restock it. Prepare parenteral medications. Parenteral medications are for those who cannot swallow, who are like in a coma or whatnot, and they do everything by IV. We transcribe doctor's orders. Again, we read the prescription or read the doctor's orders, and we input it into the computer. Retail, the technician does it. In the hospital setting, the pharmacist is mainly doing that. Field patients cassettes. Cassettes, when you see cassettes, it's mainly dealing with narcotic medication, fentanyl, oxycodone, stuff like that. And this is mainly in IVs, where they'll fill that medication, they'll put it in the cassette so that nobody else can tamper with it, I guess. They just recently started doing this because when I left the hospital setting, they were barely starting to do that because they had the patient's family member drawing from the narcotic bag and injecting themselves with that narcotic. So it was, so they had to develop a way to lock that narcotic. So that's what they did. They put it in a cassette, and they can't access the bulb to get in there and draw it out. So yeah, that's why we have the cassette form. Specialized technicians order drugs and supplies. So we have a buyer, which would order drugs and supplies, and or work in a clinical setting or quality control. Again, clinical setting would either be dealing with IV mixtures or dealing with chemotherapy mixtures. Technicians need strong communication skills. We'll go over that in chapter 4. We'll be brief. Pharmacists can also specialize in areas such as anticoagulation and pharmacokinetic services, oncology. Anytime you see oncology, you're dealing with chemotherapy, pediatrics, geriatrics. Anytime you see geriatrics, you're dealing with the older generation, and compounding, which is like baking a cake. Trusted pharmacists and technicians. Pharmacists can be trusted to provide truthful information and be confidant. Clinical pharmacists work alongside doctors to prescribe medications and dosages. Community pharmacies. When you see community pharmacy, just think of Walgreens, CVS, any of those type of pharmacies are known as community pharmacies. Even what Grams was known as a community pharmacy. Pharmacists required to counsel the patients, Technicians trusted to provide the best care by filling correct medication. So again, we earn the trust of the public when we fill the correct medication, give them your undivided attention, show empathy towards them, and try to answer their questions. Certain questions we cannot answer are what, uh, uh, unless you're a pharmacist, but a technician cannot answer what to prescribe, what do you recommend, any of those type of questions. You have to get a pharmacist. We're almost there. Technicians of the 21st century and beyond. Pharmacists take on a more highly clinical role, not only counseling, but working with medical staff. A lot. Well, I wouldn't say that's just still with hospital setting because we have to call the hospital sometimes from the retail to maybe ask what certain prescription is reading. So maybe the doctor has a bad handwriting, so we would call the clinic or the hospital to clarify that. Technicians are moving into transcribing orders, pulling medications, and filling prescriptions. We've been pulling medications, we've been transcribing orders, and filling everything. Uh, we pretty much do the physical work of the pharmacist, while the pharmacist is either talking to the patient, um, counseling the patient, giving vaccines, um, and just double checking to make sure that the patient is not doubling up on a medication that works the same, or taking the medication back to back that contraindicate each other, that work against each other. That's a type of uh, communication that the pharmacist has with the patient. Technicians in specialized fields such as compounding. One of the compounding pharmacies we have here is on Midkiff. Yeah, Midkiff, and it's called a Medical Center Pharmacy, where they compound certain medications um, like bioidentical hormones. They do certain types of calculations that fit the patient. Like again, making a medication that the child can swallow, flavorful or whatnot, or if it's an adult who cannot swallow easily, making it accessible for that patient. Can participate in a team approach to healthcare in the future and provide more specialized input. A lot of I really enjoy working in compounding pharmacy. There's a lot of incentives to it. You may get compensation um, through, say, the company is doing good and they have a high um, increase in their production and whatnot. They might give you a raise with that, where it's harder to get a raise in retail pharmacy like CVS or Walgreens. It's easier to get a raise like a closed pharmacy, like a compounding pharmacy. Pharmacists and technicians will always have different roles, but both have a place in the team approach to taking care of patients. All right, so that's the end of chapter 1. Ask you some quick questions. All right, let's look at the page 16 in your book. Multiple choice questions. During the Civil War, many soldiers died as a result. What do y'all think they died of as a result? All the above. They died of unsanitary conditions, post-surgical infections, gunshot wounds. So D, all the above. Which of the following choices best describes sources of materials for remedies in ancient times? Which one? You say you would let D? B? Minerals, animals, and prayer? It was all, it's close. I mean, we mostly, it's actually C, in minerals, animals, and plants. I believe prayer is probably not a remedy, more religious type. So C would be your answer on number two. Number three, which of the following statements is not true? Which one? B or C? Not true? D. It is D. Sulfonamide was one of many new antibiotic classes discovered in the 1800s. It was actually pretty much like the only antibiotic other than penicillin. So D is not true. Number four, taking new prescriptions over the phone and entering them into the computer are tasks of what can do. Actually, they give an answer of pharmacist. So letter A, taking new prescriptions over the phone and entering them into the computer are tasks of pharmacists can do. So we can't take the prescription over the phone as a technician um, and put them into the computer. We in the future we may be able to. I know during COVID time we were able to because we were so shorthanded. I don't know if they digressed and they went back to the old way, but we were able to take the prescription down, give it to the pharmacist just to make sure that the prescription was okay. And the pharmacist had any questions, then they would call the physician. But for this time, we're showing that, well, the pharmacist can only take the prescription and enter it, into the computer. Number five, the PTCB was founded by which of the following entities? I'm going to go ahead and give you all that one. That's letter B. And that's just talking about the pharmacy technician certification board. Yeah. It says an urgent need for standardizing training arose in the 1960s as pharmacist organizations such as the American Society Health System Pharmacists, Michigan Pharmacists Association, and the American Pharmacists Association. So those are the ones that founded PTCB. And ICHP, ICHP stands for Illinois Council of Hospital Pharmacists. Number 6, opium and alcohol were once used to what? All, you said B? All the above, yes. Desensitize a person to pain, help ease depression, treat anxiety. So all those, the laudanum was for. The word apothecary means what? That actually means both A and B, pharmacist and store. So those that were generated early in the 1800s. Um, the first pharmacy technicians were what? Great. Say D? C? No. Actually D, all the above. They were family members, clerks, and military technicians. Number 9, pharmacy technicians perform the following functions, except which one? Which one? C, we cannot counsel the patient. We can fill a prescription, we can compound medication, we can order medication, but we cannot counsel a patient as a pharmacy tech. Last one, the PTCB is an organization that what? Both B and C gives national examination for pharmacy technicians and was founded special, was founded by several pharmacists associations. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let y'all for the last 30, 45 minutes to an hour. Go ahead and work on your workbook for chapter 1. So you can go ahead and open that. You'll see that any of that part of the workbook. So you got chapter 1 up. And we're going to do pages 1 through 4. I do got pens, pencils back there. Y'all need it. Forget about it. And I'll give you time to work on that. When we come back after lunch, I'll go over the short answers and
this is one of our homework.
this is starting up the homework. Yeah. So we'll just do the terms definitions on page 1.
Are we allowed to go back and look?
Yes, you go use your book. I highly recommend that. You had your laptop, you can go back and look at that as well. I'll put in the PowerPoints for each of the chapters. And if y'all got any questions, I don't mind y'all asking each other, helping each other out. Or if y'all need to ask me anything. So I'll give you all up to the end of this period of to go to lunch, and then we'll go to lunch, and then we'll come back at 1. And we'll go over end of chapter 1, short answer, whatnot. And then we'll look at chapter 16 as well. We'll do pages 1 through 4 up to the short answer. There you are. I did not know you were here already. We are going over chapter 1. Again, you can pull that up in your canvas. You have not already. The numbering is not right. You have 1 and then it jumps to 3 here. I had to download it at a different section. So you should have your 2 courses here. We are doing pharmacology first, chapter 1. And click on the assignments here on the side here.
Yeah.
You can download them. It shows page 2 to 4. We'll only do up to right here. And I will go over the short answer with y'all here at 1 o'clock. We reconvene after lunch. If you have any questions, just let me know. Right now, I have them working on these worksheets. And I'm going to stop the recording. So you don't hear nothing because we're working on our worksheets.
I tried to get onto the book.